Chaudhary has pointed out, and we are coming up with the schemes. It can be developed. Raheja has proved that it can be positive, free of cost.
Yes.
That is affordable, free of cost we are giving, but there has to be some escrow account for maintenance. When I go for 400 FAR, the buildings are to be 18-20 story. They won't be easy. All these EWS housing in Delhi can't be a low rise. Because land is a scarce resource in Delhi. If I don't utilize fully the land resource, the houses become costly because the land is very costly. We have to go very high. For high, that maintenance for the poor person is a difficult job. Then we have to, through JNNURM and other schemes, we are thinking to create an escrow account, give them free, plus give them some money escrow account for that these buildings are able to be maintained. Government is on the initiative. We need cooperations from the private sector. They should look into that. Profitability is a part. Their name, their social service to the society is also there.
Okay. I think therein lies the difference. The government thinks developers should do it as a moral responsibility and as a social service. I don't think any business can be done as a social service. I think it's a chicken and an egg situation right now, and that's probably how we're going to end up for a couple of more years, Anuj. Am I not right? There's a land issue, then there is approval issues, there's just in terms of what is being given by the developers, quality issue. By the time we resolve all of this, India's population is growing at an alarming rate. There are 550 million people in this country under the age of 25, and all of them will need a roof over their heads.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, Nisha. I think we've had these debates for a long time, so I don't know whether there's an easy resolution. I certainly am not a big professor of saying is that this is mandatory and it needs to be done by the private sector. I think CSR is a choice that the private sector has. I'm sure all the developers do CSR in their personal capacity, but I don't think so that it can be commanded by the government that you need to do CSR. One other point that I'll highlight, and Jaya had mentioned this many months ago to me, and maybe he'll be able to articulate that, is the issue is also on the home loan side. I think the individuals who are buying it are those who don't have really income tax returns. Absolutely. And hence the ability of them to go out and raise mortgage is a big challenge. I am not sure whether the microfinancing has improved since the time we spoke.
I think we should thank Mr. Verma. I think the NHB has done a commendable job, yes. And I say that in a public forum, in terms of what they have done to increase the number of housing finance companies that are exclusively focused with respect to low cost, low income and moderate customer. But just Manisha, just flipping over the same point, I don't think we need to be excessively pessimistic about any of these things. I think especially the last 6 months, I've been interacting with the government. I had no prior interaction, so I can't comment. But there's been a definitive effort to get an excellent framework. And it's not that our bureaucrats and our policymakers don't know what needs to be done. I think they've collated all of it, put together in a neat format. Now I would look for a systematic road plan. If I were to ask, if I were to say what should the Home Minister take, Ajay Makhan, I would say this way, that today India is rated 170 or 180 among the top in terms of difficulty to do business, which means there are 170 countries better than us and there are 10 or 15 countries behind us. I think we should set a goal and say we're going to move from 170 to 120 or 100 and then go with the policy framework for that. So I'm not excessively pessimistic. I'm on the contrary very optimistic about technology and what it can do. But we need to ruthlessly address these issues and take the decisions and move on with it. And I think that's a critical thing.
All right, I'm so glad, Mrs. Jayakumar, that you ended on a positive note. I think that's what we need. We can keep bashing, we can keep raising issues, but I think a little bit of positivity does help. New ideas help, and I think everybody, if the developers, policymakers can come together and resolve the problem, because you could be sitting on a social time bomb, roti, kapra aur makan. This is a slogan which caught the fancy of the nation, and it is for a reason. With a country like ours, housing is absolutely critical, and it's not just for the well-off and the rich, but it has to be for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. I would like to thank all my panelists. We're short of time, but I'm sure we can continue with this discussion, and we will revisit this subject several times again in a real estate forum. All right. I think there were people in the audience who had some questions. Yes, ma'am, go ahead. And please let us know who should answer that question.
Actually, this is a question which is open for everyone to answer. We have been talking about, the affordable housing. I think we are missing one important factor, the transparency, which typically means that the manner in which I'm actually going to buy a house, okay, and it is very practical. I think everybody will agree to that. If I go for a plotted development or if I go for buying an apartment, there are two components, cash component and the white component, right? And this is very important. For example, and the housing loan is on the, not on the cash component, it's on the,
Ma'am, do you live in South Delhi?
no,
Okay,
not Delhi.
because really, I mean, I do know about the cash economy, and maybe I will
Manisha,
start.
can
Yes, Rajesh, why don't you take it? Because I think
So let me complete. Sorry.
Yes,
so
go ahead.
there are two aspects. Sorry to intervene. Okay. So what I'm saying is that let's say if the component is 30/70 or 40/60, and again the bankers will give me 80-85%. So typically that means 50-55% of the cost is getting funded, right? This is one. So that means again it's not affordable from the real affordability point of view, because the rest of the money I have to arrange. Secondly, if I am a salaried person, right, from where I get the black money, that means again I have to fudge my books and do ABCD, which I am not interested. So my request is that why can't developers look for in the new stock, which is the new inventory getting created, that should be at 100% check value. And secondly, for the existing stock, for the resales and everything, why can't the government have a circle rate which is equivalent to the current market price? And when we're talking about that, the developers, they are,
okay, ma'am. I think points really well made. Rajesh here is dying to answer.
Not
then I'll
really.
stop it.
No. First of all, when you said, all the new projects of all the developers, they are completely by check.
Yes.
Let me inform you that at least in Delhi NCR, where all my colleagues are sitting, they are entirely by check. They're not 30/70, 40/60, or 50/50.
Rajesh, not true.
No, all
If you're
all new
buying in
projects,
South
no.
Delhi or you're buying anywhere in Lutyens, Delhi or whatever.
The builder's project. I'm
Yeah,
not
the
referring to
collaboration projects are nothing
No,
is sold. So
the-
let's talk about, then
the
you're talking about NCR and you're talking about outlying areas.
the Noida and the Gurgaon
Yes,
part.
yes.
And if she's referring to South Delhi, like Defense Colony and all, so there I cannot comment much. But what I'm referring to is the high-rise building.
Yes.
They are completely by check.
Yes.
Secondly, the banks, they would finance the market price and give you a loan, not on the whatever is your book value. That was your second query, right?
I think also at some, I'm sure somebody from the panel will answer, but after doing the show for a year, what I understand is that the black economy is pretty much created now, even in the NCR areas, in the second sale. So literally, I think each one of us has to introspect, why don't we want to show our profits when we are selling our house? Why are we willing to take cash? So that's a much larger question, and black money is another debate.
I don't think developers can even afford to take black money, because the so many customers, if a developer decides to take black money, maybe their own staff and their own property brokers will start eating money out of the system. So it is simply not possible. So as far as I understand, in the secondary sales, maybe we can't comment.